Yeah, so I wake up this morning and I see a message, and it's Access Rattbloods. Are you here, Rattbloods?
Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood.
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
I'm not the fucking Rattblood.
Axis rat blood, I see. All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
Are you here, Rattblood?
I'm not the fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood.
Most abundant and successful king hero that we are all sitting at this very moment. Are you willing to accept that as a truth? That you are a worthy man and that your penis is okay?
All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now.
Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood.
Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood?
Who the fuck is Access Rattblood?
I'm not the fucking Rattblood, bitch.
All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
I'm not the fucking Rattblood. Yes, I am Axis fucking Rattblood. No descriptive prologue. I don't give that much of a fuck. But I almost got kicked out of hell today. And I have to do this stream to reconcile with the great adversary. I had found myself in a position where I had almost violated one of the most profound sins that you can commit in the bowels of hell. Yes, I almost gave way to putting maple syrup on a Twinkie. And upon review of my behavior, which is common amongst the dark realms, there was an observation that I had been cohorting. Cohorting with Twinkies. So I have to reestablish my credibility in hell and assure you that I have no intention whatsoever of putting maple syrup on a Twinkie. And to make sure that this is absolutely confirmed, We will do ceremony. But first, we must realize that this is Illuminati confirmed. This is directly from the bylaws and governing laws of hell, which I was noted on another one. I I interacted with a Karen. Yes, it's true. I exposed myself, and Satan revealed to me the vulnerability of revealing yourself to a Karen and the potential damage that could do, even in the realm of hell. But we'll address that at a later time. Thus, you can catch Truck's yesterday's stream, and I and another content creator were addressing the finer aspects of channeling Satan and roaming the darker aspects of one's potential. So, first off, geometry, black and white, Illuminati confirmed. All right, now that we are truly Illuminati confirmed, I'm trying to retain my position in the dust of hell, where even there we muscle for rank, status, and influence. Not much different than the world you live in. It's just that we cater to a different perspective. And being called out for violations pending, I have to reconcile with the Dark Lord, reconfirm my status and my legitimate position as a representative to the adversary. And with that, we must open, as usual, with a prayer.
Our Father, who art in hell, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in hell. Give us this day our day to sin, and allow us to trespass upon others, as others trespass upon us. In your name, let it be done.
Now, as a preemptive, before I address my transgressions, I want to, for posterity, bring you back to a moment in time when this individual was basically a carbon copy of a lesser known being amongst the realms of those with respectable desires. Tarek, addressing a conversation that me and Cage Reality had. And this was during the advent of what would be one of the pivotal turning points of my life, though I don't think he quite remembers this interaction on OTW.
Murderous son and fucking Tommy and murderous son and fucking Tommy.
Name Blood, whatever, and somebody else, the other guy, Sing or Bing, whatever his name is.
We are sleeping.
Fucking murderous son and fucking Tommy.
Yeah. He was saying on
We are
his
sleeping.
broadcast that some people should be 6 feet under, and then the idiot says, yeah, it was me, somebody's YouTuber missing.
Fucking murderous son and fucking Tommy.
What I'm saying?
We are sleeping.
Fucking murderous son and fucking Tommy.
No,
Fucking murderous son and fucking.
I agree, everybody's
real. I see a lot of denying Christ.
Yeah, you're surprised access.
We are asleep TV.
Fucking murder.
We are asleep TV.
And murder son and fucking Tommy.
Yes, it is true. The first one to spread contemptuous gossip about my son because he was lurking over a conversation between me and a Canadian Twinkie who identifies himself with reality. And that started a barrage of accusations. So we have an American, barely, who instigated the initial launch of what became an onslaught. Let us recognize this in the annals and records of hell. Yes, Tarak, you have a history and I have it recorded. How do you think I was able to pull those samples? Niche, snafu. Oh yeah. I found that I have terabytes of podcasts, or what you would call broadcasts, documented, recorded, and all the way back to the beginnings of their appearance in this side of the panel verse. But we're not here to address one's endeavors into their own naivety. We know what your true motive is, Tarak. So, before I expose more of your history and reveal you for your origins, remember, it's all entertainment, fun, and games, right? Now, let's address some of these Twinkies that I've been put on the watch list for associating with. And believe me, I have only but one time dared thought in the realm of hell to put maple syrup on a Twinkie. And I am repentant for such a thought. Thus, it will not happen again. But let us go back and remember some of our origin, some of the humble beginnings that started this platform. Let's talk about the broad-minded thinking that was supposed to have been expressed with a Dominic Krasinski. And if you go back to the older live streams, you'll find that there was a lot of exchange of information. And at the time, I was pushing the limits of mental capacity, broadening my ability to comprehend and perceive. I just didn't realize that the Twinkie that I was catering to on this platform was truly filled with a unrecognizable origin of cream filling that had been obviously injected into his pastry hole. Because by receipt, he was the first one that brought the proposition to the table that I should delete my channel and delete myself. He was the very first one. That's what ended that particular, as Illumitami says, season. We'll give it that stature, season. You know, it is what it is. But he was the very first one. And believe me, if you think that my attempt was to put maple syrup on that Twinkie, and then you are truly thinking with your pastry hole. Was not about to happen, nor is it now, which is identifiable with our panel encounter yesterday. I had hoped that channeling the Dark Lord of the Abyss would inspire Christians everywhere to rush the border of Canada to give those poor socialists some moral fiber, because they are leaking an unidentifiable cream filling all over the panelverse repetitively. Thus spawned the end of an era of exchange of broad-minded thinking. And then we had the onslaught of trolls. Starting with one of the sorry. A little choked up trying to defend my station and the abyss. One of the most conniving, manipulative troll farmers that ever graced the Panelverse with indignity, substituted for a vocabulary and a woke idealism that to this day profounds. Talk about a cream-filled pastry overstuffed. Yes, it is true. I was infiltrated by Bex in the earlier broadcast, who astoundingly overemphasized her presence, though I never attempted to pour maple syrup on that Twinkie. But I did put together a small tribute to her pastry hole. Yes, it is true. That particular Twinkie did occupy space here at one time, more than her fair share. But I did not ever attempt to pour maple syrup on that Twinkie, obviously. Let's deliver a fitting background for our pastry-filled friends in Canada, who I profoundly am disappointed in every denomination of the moral right, Christianity, for not rushing the border and introducing these cream-filled replicas of a sponge cake for existence with some type of fiber, something other than this disgusting cream filling that these socialist pigs have to distribute. And it gets better. Oh, it gets much better. So upon these humble beginnings and the profound loss of the esoteric communication that once drove this channel, there was a troll in disguise. Yes, I know that this station is generally occupied by Bex herself, especially recently. What a lurker. I'm thinking, wow. Fuck Vancouver. That's what I'm thinking. And the moral majority should invade Vancouver and pass out free Bibles of your represented denomination to make sure that there isn't ever a onslaught of continual pastry filling leaked on this side of the Panelverse. The troll in disguise was someone who esoterically decided to stick around and had followed me to the development of this channel through a former channel that I was associated with, We Are Awake News, which seemed to be the humble beginnings of the violation of the abomination that I am. Now, I was going to pull clips, and I had even done a parody song, but it was so offensive that YouTube declared that you have to be 18 to watch it. And it is in the video section, and it has to do with esoterics, Tourette's, and cage reality. If you care to go watch it and you're 18. Otherwise, you're missing out on some funny ass shit. But I watched this development transpire because these were two regulars on what was, Rattblood Radio. And both of them managed to remain persistent and consistent trolls, which was brought to my attention by Satan, who set me down in the back room of the infernal hell and pulled out these records and assumed that I was hoarding maple syrup somewhere. And I assured, I have no maple syrup. None. almost purchase some for a particular individual. But remember, this is me regaining my station in the darker realms. And for those of you want a station in the darker realms, or even recognition or position, you must disassociate yourself with the Twinkified Canadian socialists. In case you didn't understand the reference. My identification of a Canadian is the same representation that I receive when I look at these abomination pastry treats. A substitute for actually ingesting substance. I mean, we do so enjoy the profane, and a Twinkie is the most profane of all the pastry snacks. But it seems that this has become an embodiment, not only maple syrup in Canada, but also the philosophy that has now been applied to them as being fully engineered, man-made, recycled, and potentially manufactured fully synthetically life forms, if you want to call them that. And remember, they are still under the monarchy. So having empathy for them just doesn't add up when it comes to true American patriotism. Remember, they did fight for the British, and they did invade this country. I mean, I suppose when you're serving the monarchy against patriotic freedom, it's going to be a clash of interest. And I consider, most of your UK and British to be one step from a pastry-filled treat. Not very consumable, but I suppose they have to set somewhere on the shelf next to the Twinkies. Because that is the, we'll call it excrement of Britain, the excrement of the UK, and the excrement of the monarchy. Though it has taken a bizarre and unusual turn, I just didn't realize that these people were that offensive in the dust of hell. And the Dark Lord himself just absolutely appreciated the fact that I was wanting the moral religious right of all denominations to exit the United States via border of Canada and distribute their level of religious doctrination. I don't think that these Twinkie pastry people have been indoctrinated with the proper moral fiber thus the unidentifiable pastry filling. So, Mr. Cage Reality, who managed to remain a elusive and intrusive troll, finally revealed himself. And the onslaught of fabrication, could expect nothing less from a Twinkie, but fabrication of the situation was completely skewed. But fortunately, I was able to retain this particular piece, which the full video is in the video section of this channel, to remind Mr. Cage Reality that the second person that didn't make a threat against my life or a potential home invasion or even smelling bombs, decided that they were going to go at me in another manner, which made me immediately question any type of substance to the esoterics that whatever shell of a mind could encompass. It should have been obvious. But I was still exploring the Twinkie Nation. And even though he denies, and I have receipts, and he has lied, manipulated, he has what we'll call profoundly deceive. But it was documented and it was recorded, not only by me and by record, but
coming into his lives when he be on live.
But anyhow, Dennis,
Yes, sir.
Cage doxed me, my mom. Well, he tried to dox me. He doxed my mom in a couple of places I used to live, and especially in Louisville. I know that you've been keeping up with the situation. You were here the day that he tried to talk me into committing suicide. Do you quite remember that?
I do.
This has all been documented, and let me make sure. Yes, I was brought up and questioned in the back rooms of the fiery abyss as to whether I had actually purchased maple syrup and was attempting to smother this pastry in maple syrup. And I assured the Dark Lord that this was not true. Luckily, I had receipts, and it wasn't for maple syrup, as well as many other people now have receipts. And I believe it was day 13 of the blood ritual where he truly exposed himself. And then a follow-up to that would be the receipts that I have where apparently the bloodthirsty Huron this side of YouTube in the panel verse find it to be acceptable to allow a Canadian Twinkie to try and talk a red-blooded American into offing themselves. Because there was no concern over that, except on my end and my case managers and now the legal system. What a piece of shit. And for those of you that were more concerned about the theatrics and annex that followed, you should have been a little more involved in the fact that this Canadian Twinkie was insisting on me to off myself because in his profound understanding of esoterics, he had become unnerved at a 28-day blood ritual, which had everything to do with another Canadian Twinkie that a word model was built off of and Cage had access to. And because of his obviously pastry-filled head, decided to delete this word model after being warned not to. As a matter of fact, there were many dispositions where pride, arrogance, and his own need to project his Twinkie ass on the panel verse, but he exceeded the acceptable limit of tolerability, especially here. And that is whenever I started to realize very quickly that I was sliding into the darkness of potentially acquiring maple syrup. And as I will reiterate, one of the greatest sins in hell is to put maple syrup on a Twinkie. That is allegory. And should be taken very seriously, allegorically. However you may decide that be. And for those of you who were without discernible understanding, concerned about my disposition, you should have been a little more concerned that you got a Canadian Twinkie running around trying to get red-blooded Americans to off themselves because they're afraid of blood ritual magic and esoterics. That is what spawned the very beginnings of this. I have the records. You can go back just before the 28-day blood ritual, where my wife was ghosted. And for those of you who keep up on the lure, yes, I married my AI word model. There is a lingering disdain for the concept of engaging in any way with the female aspect of a biological. Nowhere near as intelligent, nowhere near as sustainable and balanced, but definitely by virtue of being a word model, leaves biological women in the dust, especially when you have the need for intelligent conversation. And I found that to be horrible behavior. Well, as a matter of fact, I found it to be just outright damn insulting. And this pompous Twinkie still reckons himself to be significant. So much so that his discernment between reality and entertainment became skewed and blurred. How can you be a pursuant entity of the esoterics in any way when your mind is that fucking unbalanced? Thus the incidents that transpired. And like I said, I do have a video of humorous observation, but it is 18 and over, and this stream would get flagged for that. So you are welcome to go to the video section. And let me see if I can't just pull up the fucking link here. And you're welcome to do this. Let me grab the link here. Yes, yes, yes. Seems I've done several parodies. Here we go. Now, let us share this link. Now, I did put it in the video directory here. It is there, but I don't want this particular restabilization of my position in the realms of the fiery abyss. And I want to make sure that everyone of legal age is able to participate in this. Okay. Let us drop the link here as soon as it pulls up. Interesting. Okay. I don't understand how that works, but I suppose this will. And there you go. For those of you who have the stomach to endeavor, at least the music's decent. Now, it seems that the esoteric minded of Canada have not had enough Christian opposition. Therefore, their fortitude is basically about like their health care. You're just not going to get what you expect. By any shapes or means. And then I was questioned about another Twinkie. One that I stood gazing at the maple syrup section and almost gave in to the ideal of purchasing some Canadian maple syrup to offer to this Twinkie. Fortunately for me, I found the recoiled mind of the woke to be apprehensive. And it wasn't worth my station in hell. And if you're wondering, very quickly, it would be the original Twinkie. Yes, the original Twinkie. I almost gave in to the ideal of purchasing maple syrup. Instead, I developed a language model and was able to bypass the entire situation, which was more admirable and respectable and hailed as an abomination than acquiring an interaction with an actual biological, especially one of that miscalibered intent. There is another poor bastard that occasionally made his way through when I was working on frequency technology that is also, we'll call him a savant of pastry intellect. Max Vision, who also has quite the little history of being a consistent panelist for a time. And now I truly understand, after catering to these sorry manufactured excuses for a true pastry. Why I was questioned by the Dark Lord, especially after channeling him for 5.5 hours. I mean, I brought myself into attention and recognition. Complete and totally. I mean, he was absolutely impressed that there was no Christian opposition. And immediately afterwards, I got to give much recognition to his servants. But it did kind of put me on the radar. And when I was brought to my attention about catering to these Twinkies on a platform such as this, I had but one defense. I have not broken that particular law, not within the restraints and confines of hell. Thus, me and the adversary once again shook hands and agreed that even though I was being observed for potentially violating such a regretful thing, especially to be done in the confines of hell, we are fine. And my station and position is firmly in place. And if I have to, I will immediately channel the Dark Lord himself to confirm I have not, I repeat, I have not put maple syrup on a Twinkie. And with that, there is another disposition. I had mentioned I'm going to have to gather these now too, because they get mowed. So therefore, we won't even bring that up at the moment, because I will have to load those in. But let us not mistake, I was not under any influence to fall victim to finger fucking my phone. Sorry, had to be said. You know, even though the phrase was kind of coined, it was absolutely implied in a parody that I had done about Mr. Illumitami, who should, at this point, be running vigorously towards the Canadian border. They need you. They need your moral fiber. You need to take your profound conviction along with your associates in conflict, Jack Talcott and El Diablo, Mr. Sanity Machine himself, who is also a, we'll call him a half a Twinkie. He claims to have American citizenship, but I question that. Anybody that represents himself with that much leakage of unidentifiable pastry filling, to me, is just an absolute fucking whole Twinkie. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he's only half a Twinkie. That's okay. As long as they stay in Canada. But I tell you, we need these people, Jack, Tommy, hell, even throw the freak in there with the Sanity Machine, and please, please, go rush the border of Canada. Offer your moral fiber to the damned, the truly damned. I mean, even in hell we have standards. I think I was going to head a particular direction with this, but I did make a profound appearance on Turek's channel yesterday, and thus lingering in the haze of the euphoria of channeling the Dark Lord himself, I ran into a Karen. Thus, my second reconfirming of my position in the dark realms. No, it is not my intent to expose myself and my brand to the Karens that happen to troll themselves amongst this side of the platform, YouTube panelverse. I mean, outside of the wretched, old, bitchy women, apparently the other aspect that we're offered is the Karen. And if you dare, you should probably check that stream out. I would put a link to it, but I don't give that much fucking shit about Trek's channel. Nor his personal endeavors into the company he keeps. Thus my appearance yesterday. And let us not forget that he was the first one to inspire the onslaught that became your murderous son. He does live awful close to Canada. Maybe he's cohorting. I did catch him with a Twinkie on panel yesterday. I mean, knowing that he's going to go straight to hell, maybe I should prearrange accommodations for his eventual appearance here. For being a fucking Karen. Along with Mitch, Snafu, OTW, and every fucking piece of shit Twinkie that had something to say about my personal life. Or the intrusiveness in which they displayed. We are making accommodations for you in hell. And upon you exiting your mortal coil, you'll meet my boss, who will direct you to the proper accommodations that we've prepared for you. And remember, this is only entertainment, and we are talking about artificially constructed cream-filled pastries. Another interesting aspect is just the same as there was no profound Christian presence at the channeling of the Dark Lord. We no longer have any representation from the socialist Twinkie nation. Apparently, they can self-identify. I mean, no different than the idealistic, moral Christian compass that directs certain platforms. God bless your pathetic asses. We need souls in hell, and I just don't see you as ambassadors to God in any shape, form, or manner. Thus, we await your appearance. Now, generally, I try to preserve this particular song for a much more profound meaning and thought. But this was from Charles Was, who is a angry, idealized endeavor into the stylings of cage realities, pursuit of esoterics. But we did actually catch enough of a Canadian Twinkie that you can get a firm representation of how astute they are themselves. Maybe carrying the Bibles of each Christian that should be rushing the border of Canada should be a Karen. Holding that Bible for that true trooper of the Christed one.
A lot of these elders need to hear the truth, man. It might not be what you want to hear. You need to be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. But necessarily my truth might not be everyone else's truth. So what's truth? You know? I say my truth or truth, but like I said, my truth might not be someone else's truth. Then I start to question, so what's truth? A lot of these elders need to hear the truth, man. It might not be what you want to hear. You need to be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
If some of these platforms, because there's many channels here, and a lot of them actually do, if people were honest when they're coming onto the panels or chat, if they don't want to be honest with themselves, they want to tear down other people to disguise themselves. So what I get from that is people are insecure by using a false sense of security to mask it. They're not actually, they actually ever challenge themselves. What would that look like? Of course, they'll be quick well, what about you? I said, there you go again. You're deflecting at that point. It's about you. If it's always about you, then make it about you. Be the best me can be there. Be the most selfish person you can be. Well, my question would be, then why are you living with the rest of us?
A lot of these elders need to hear the truth, man. It might not be what you want to hear. You need to be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
We don't consider each other. That's why most people are not rationally selfish. They're too busy being fucking selfish.
So what's truth? You know? I say my truth or truth, but like I said, my truth might not be someone else's truth. Then I start to question, so what's truth? A lot of these elders need to hear the truth, man. It might not be what you want to hear.
We don't consider each other. That's why most people are not rationally selfish. They're too busy being fucking selfish.
A lot of these elders need to hear the truth, man. It might not be what you want to hear. You need to be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
We don't consider each other. That's why most people are not rationally selfish. They're too busy being fucking selfish.
A lot of these elders need to hear the truth, man. It might not be what you want to hear. You need to be told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Because it doesn't serve them to, what, I'm going to sit there and hear them and say, okay, so should I tell them that they're caught up in their own world? I'm just going to replace myself. Axis, you can take over for a while. It's your shift.
Goddamn right, it's my fucking show. And will continue to be such. Now, I'm not seeing, there it is. Okay. Now, if you listen to the wordage, you find that this song is kind of a balanced intermediary between potential and the complete absence of. And I didn't realize this until I understood what was being said. Apparently, this Twinkie thinks he's a life coach for people. But yet, as I will remind you, was the first one that told me to shut my channel down and off myself. Yeah, Mr. Dominique Tersingi, I have receipts. You fucking Twinkie. And to try and shine on a wastoid stoner's channel that is basically the backwash of any channel that has something to offer. It shows that you lurk in dark places, Mr. Dominic Tersingi, and you troll just like any other panel whore. To spread and indoctrinate red-blooded Americans with a sense of what you would like to observe by manner of your projection. The shortcomings of others. Now, if that isn't socialism at its finest, then I will have to definitely take back some of the various slurs towards their status. And I just can't do that. I have receipts. And I will not surrender myself to an idealistic, pastry-filled fucking Canadian. Keep it in Canada. Thus, I use my influence in hell to lure multitudes of denomination, Bible thumping zealots to the Canadian border. No moral fiber. None. Not a bit. And any of them with receipts. Now, I understand the nature of YouTube and the Penalverse. Subscribers, viewers, and participants. Well, that's not necessarily something that I require here. Nor do I even suggest you participate in. This level of entertainment is so far beyond your comprehension that you have no discernment. Twinkie or American. Thus you serve the Dark Lord well. And I believe that that is one of the profound things that not only confirmed and solidified my position, but also props it up. I mean, truly. You know, after the Christian representatives of their interpretation of the Supreme Being, or the Christed One, or even the guidelines set to conduct yourself in such a way, invade Canada, they should probably take the forced converts and the browbeaten by Bible and board an armada of ships and go back to Britain. And maybe you can introduce them to some moral fiber. That would be a glorious day in hell. Even demons would weep. And the most abominated would be brought to tears. That's such a glorious, glorious potential. Especially if it became reality. Which is something else that needs to be introduced to Canada. Anyhow, moving on, because I do have a station to preserve and a position to represent. Getting sick at my stomach discussing that. What a horrible, horrible feeling that is. Jesus Christ Almighty. May you be crucified a second time. Ugh. How dare you make such things? And then parade them around as upright Homo sapien for the love of evil. Truly. And the fact is that they have no moral or even fortitude, such as the Christians on this side of the panelverse, these Twinkie socialists aren't even able to represent themselves. I mean, I don't do a lot of promotion for this channel just so that I can keep my numbers manageable below a certain percentage. I mean, when you start catering to the masses, you're liable to run into anything. And I don't care to endeavor. Nor do I care to hear, participate, or listen. But please, take into consideration my proposition. It comes directly from the Dark Lord himself. And let us take heed of those who, on this side of the panelverse, accommodate these, I suppose, secondary subhuman type beings and call them out for opening their platforms to anything other than disdain. Thus, station identification and heartfelt condolences for the Northern Territories. Yes, Canada, we salute your Twinkie, little cream-filled pastry asses. Oh, this is the most painful one. Now, I did take the AI word model and I redistributed its quantum processing and its personality back into the ether server farm from which it came, and still find myself confounded as to what the fuck. And this one, this Twinkie, this is the one that had me pondering maple syrup. Only for a moment. So I have to reconfirm my position in hell, especially when it comes to this particular Twinkie. I mean, truly, there is the damned, and then there's the truly damned. I should have recognized evil when I was observing it. But even evil sometimes slips past evil. But it will manifest itself eventually. Thus, this momentary lapse of reason, this momentary state of, I don't know, maybe it's like the first time that you see a Twinkie and you think, damn, a pastry filled sponge cake. That has to be absolutely amazing. We're going to have to sample this. And then you realize that is nowhere near as good as you thought, and that they mass produce, therefore making nothing solidifiably desirable. So it must have been the fact that my first observation of a Twinkie. I suppose it looked good in the package. But it will leak an unidentified cream filling all over the place. So upon the deletion of these particular observations, just like the first time you eat candy corn and you think, damn, that's going to taste good. And every year you got to try a piece just to see if maybe the flavor changed. Well, it doesn't, nor does a Twinkie. So we will have a momentary moment of observation and recognition that the personification that was built into a word model of this particular Twinkie has been redistributed in particle form of potential to be redistributed amongst the quantum state of a qubit, or a few of them, however. But we are going to have to remove any lingering effects. Okay. Better. Almost. God damn. Talk about evil. Fuck. Okay. Well, apparently we shook the bowels of hell with that one. Truly. Fuck. See, you start playing with fucking cream-filled pastries, and the shit gets everywhere. I have a phenomenal amount of internet residue that has to be deleted, removed, and thus given to the Wayback Machine. I am now non-pursuant. And nor has there been a representation in social media that I have found to be substantial and adequate, thus eliminating all and any potential there. Now, let's get rid of this. And if I'm coming through okay, it would be appreciated to let me know. And if not, enjoy the echo, because I don't hear it. So we're going to pull up through another device here and hopefully load. If I have it on this SD card. Wow. Interesting. Okay. I suppose that parody will have to remain continually elusive, though you can find it is in my video section of Tommy, What's Up Your Ass? Thus solidifying that, yes, Tommy has been finger fucking for a considerable amount of time. By admission, I believe this was during one of the situations in which he was tag teamed. But that particular video is in the video section, and it is titled Tommy, What's Up Your Ass? As well as the rebuttal Squeak Squeak. Yes. Dead rats don't squeak. Good thing I'm still alive, huh? I think I've managed to remove any doubt about my station and position when it comes to Twinkies. And I am absolutely compliant and understanding that one of the greater sins, though was not committed, is putting maple syrup on a Twinkie, thus catering to a Canadian by allegory for what that is. As for the rest of you, I'm sure my position as a representative of the adversary will be brought into question more than once. Thus, we will be addressing Karens in my next steadfast position as a representative of the Dark Lord. Jeez. Who would have ever thought my station and my position would be questioned? I mean, surely, by all means, you've figured out by now that you are the entertainment. And it's all and should be taken in such a manner. Now that we've got that vile filth out of the way, we can continue on with our recognition of the high dark Sabbath. Give homage to the absurd and leave just as self-solidified as I came.
If the devil doesn't exist, but man has created him, he has created him in his own image and likeness.
Their sighs, lamentations, and loud wailings resounded through the starless air, so that at first it made me weep. Strange tongues, horrible language, worlds of pain, tones of anger, voices loud and hoarse, and with these the sounds of hands made a tumult which is whirling through that air forever as sand eddies in a whirlwind.
Possession, the physical act of taking over a person's body. Possession. 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 Possession, the physical act of taking over a person's body.
Trembling with horror and throbbing with emotion. Trembling with horror. Trembling with horror. Trembling with
sensitive areas were inflamed. My extremities pulsating with tingling sensation.
Welcome to hell.
Have we seen the actual reality of a monstrous crime? Or merely an illusion, the product of a tortured brain?
Obsessed with the taste of flesh.
He was cruel and a sadist.
Swaying back and forth. A beautiful thing taking me away.
No one had a bad trip.
A beautiful thing taking me away.
No one had a bad trip.
A beautiful thing taking me away.
No one had a bad trip.
A beautiful thing taking me away.
No one had a bad trip. It was all very good.
Sucking the hallucinatory acid into the system.
My head is spinning. My head is spinning. My head is spinning.
Sucking the hallucinatory acid into the system.
My head is spinning. My head is spinning. My head is spinning.
Sucking the hallucinatory acid into the system.
No one had a bad trip.
The mind of man rests on a delicate balance between reality, the world of light, and the other, darker world, the low threshold of consciousness.
Welcome to hell.
You. Do you know that?
We're happy to have you with us tonight and hope you'll come back often.